What's going on, you guys? So, I want to take a real quick look today at Scoob, the latest feature-length Scooby-Doo film starring Zac Efron, Will Forte, Amanda Seyfried, and Mark Wahlberg. So, I don't have a huge history with the Scooby-Doo franchise. I've never actively disliked it or anything, and I watched a lot of their animated movies, especially the ones from the 90s, like Zombie Island and Alien Invaders and Cyber Chase, and some of those are really good. But their history with full feature length films has not exactly been stellar. They had two live action films in the early 2000s that were absolutely dreadful. They had a few TV movies and direct to DVD live action movies that have come out, and all of them have been, most of them have been varying degrees of suck. So I didn't have particularly high hopes for this film when I saw it, and didn't get a theatrical release because, for obvious reasons, it went straight to DVD. And yesterday I got the opportunity to watch it at home, and honest thoughts, I actually had a good time with this movie. I mean, it's nothing spectacular. I don't think anything that comes out of Scooby-Doo will ever be spectacular, to lack of a better term. But yeah, I had a good time with this movie. Um, okay, so I'll get the plot is probably the weakest part of the film, which is kind of what you need to have your strongest part, but the writing actually kind of makes up for it. The plot makes absolutely no sense. It's complete nonsense, much like a lot of Scooby Doo films. So I wasn't too disappointed in that regard. But the movie actually had some legit laughs. I thought it was actually legitimately funny, unlike a lot of other Scooby Doo films where it's like, "Hey, kids film, sure I'll laugh." But no, it was actually legitimately funny at some points. The voice acting is absolutely stellar. Zac Efron is great as Fred. It was at first I thought that was kind of a weird choice. I'm like, okay, sure, why not? But he was actually very good in this role. Um, everyone else is pretty good. Everyone else is pretty good in this movie. Will Forte was kind of. I had to. It was kind of an acquired. I had to kind of get used to his voice a bit while watching the songs. I'm so used to Casey Kasem, I want to say is his name. Uh, I'm not sure if I pronounced that right, but he'd been doing the voice for years, and Matthew Lillard's been doing it since like 2009 in the animation. And he was also in the live action films, the original ones. So Forte did a good job as Shaggy. But I kind of had to get used to his voice a bit. Frank Welker returns as Scooby, and he's as good as always. I cannot for the life of me remember who plays Velma in this movie, but she's pretty good actually. Though it was kind of weird that Velma seemed to have like purplish hair instead of her like normal black hair, but yeah, I don't really care if that means nothing. Mark Wahlberg plays Blue Falcon, and he is actually very good. I buy his ego, and I buy his complete having no idea how a hero works. I buy it very well. He's a great actor. Kirstie Clemens plays his sidekick slash pilot Dee Dee Skies, I think is her name, and she's pretty good in this movie. I haven't seen her in too much recently, but she did a damn good job. The villain of this film is Dick Dastardly, and if you don't recognize that name, it's because he's not an actual Scooby Doo character, but he is a Hanna-Barbera. He is a Hanna-Barbera character, and he's from the show Wacky Races. If anybody watched that, it took me a second to figure out who he was because he's not Scooby Doo, but he was actually a pretty fun villain, and his motivation kind of made sense, though it seemed to kind of jump a couple times. It's kind of confusing. The whole plot is confusing. The plot is Dastardly's trying to go through. You know, I'm not gonna spoil. Um, I'm not gonna spoil the plot, but his motivation lines up, and but it doesn't seem to. I don't know. It just felt like something was missing there. I guess something felt missing with the villain. Um, let me see. I was going to talk about the animation in this movie is phenomenal. It's Warner Brothers Animation, people who did like the Lego movies and some other animation. So I'm not shocked that the animation looks absolutely great in this film. Uh, Man, what else is there to talk about? This movie is not bad. This movie's not bad at all. But there's another problem with it is that it's a little forgettable. I watched this literally just last night, and I'm having a little trouble trying to remember what happens. Um, I do like the references to one thing I like is like they have other references to um other Hanna-Barbera characters, like I already mentioned Dick Dastardly and of course his dog Muttley. But there's also Captain Caveman shows up at some point, um, voiced by oh my god, what was his name? Tracy Morgan of all people. That was a weird choice, but I'm like, okay, sure. Uh, this movie follows the origin story. Goes for an origin story, but it doesn't follow it kind of how Pup Named Scooby-Doo or Mystery Begins, that live action movie, go. It goes a very different route. It doesn't have to show how every single person meet each other. Scooby meets Shaggy, and then off-screen Velma, Fred, and Daphne kind of meet, and then they meet Shaggy and Scooby at a haunted house about, let's say, 10 minutes into this movie. Yeah. One thing I will say is that it's constant. Um, there's a point in this movie where there's a cameo by. So I'm not gonna say who it is. It's a cameo by someone who is not needed, and it's not that funny. And I think the entire movie could have done without it. And I think it's supposed to be kind of a red herring at first, but it's not really a mystery who the villain is. It's not as much. This isn't as much of a mystery to the audience as it just is to the characters. And that's one thing I think that this does have over the other Scooby-Doo movies, is that the other ones had such a bad mystery, and this one just kind of went, you know what? Let's just have the mystery purely for the characters. You already know who it is. It's gonna be fine. And at first, at the end of the movie, they pull off Dick Dastardly. They try to throw you for a loop that it's somebody else, but then it's like, oh no, it's actually this person. But the way they did it was actually funny. It didn't try to throw the double twist like, ha, gotcha. But no, it actually it made sense, sort of. On second thought, no, it didn't really make sense, but not the point. The point is that it was actually funny, at least. And that's what I will take away from this film. Unlike a lot of other Scooby-Doo feature-length films, it is funny. And so, yeah, I actually surprisingly recommend this. If you don't like it, your kids will like it fine. I'm not sure it's actually intended for older audience. I think around the age of, like, probably 5 to 13, 14 is probably when this movie's aimed at. So yeah, if what I said sounds enticing to you, I try not to say too much about these movies because I don't like to spoil in my reviews. So I'm not gonna say much about the plot in this movie, but like I've said, the acting is solid, the writing is good. Though another thing I will say is that it seems to hammer on its messages to you, and it has multiple messages, and it hammers you on the head with it really freaking hard. And I hate when movies do that. I hate when it feels like they have to 100% spell out the message for the audience and not letting them figure it out. And that's when I just say no, just let the audience figure it out. We don't need this whole speech about the moral of this film. We get it. So, yeah, that is one downside of this film. But, again, if nothing else, it's a good hour and a half film for your kids to watch. It's harmless at worst. Again, it's nothing spectacular, but it's a decent enough flick. And so, I actually recommend giving it a watch. I'm going to give Scoob a B. Thank you all so much for watching. If you like more reviews, consider subscribing, hitting that like button, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.